All right, folks, welcome back to Glasgow News. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done any voiceovers and stuff. I just thought, you know, the video I'm about to play to you has been a long time coming. It's been years since we've heard anybody talking any kind of common sense with regard to the Ukraine-Russian war. All we've really had so far are, like for instance, our own Prime Minister saying that we've now arranged for instance, like he did a month or so ago, he went over to Ukraine, right? Because he knows that the end is near, and for some reason he's wanted to hang on. This is Britain, right? And he arranged 100-year truce, 100-year sort of truce with Ukraine. I mean, what is that if it's no just being antagonistic towards anybody else that wants to try and solve this, right? Now, and you know in the background, Britain's been saying we need to send troops there, we need to send British troops there, we need to send French troops there, we need to send whatever, right? Now that's relevant because the people you're looking at here, from left to right, okay, the guy on the far left here is Pete Hegseth. Now he's the new under the Trump administration's United States Secretary of Defense, right? Now you can see right away he's a young guy. He's no some old general, right? He's an he is military ex-marine type guy, all right. Um, and he also was a TV presenter and all the rest of it. But what he's about to say, right, absolutely devastates all the people there. Look at their faces. He's speaking at the minute while this picture's taken, right, or this on this view, and the guy to his immediate left doesn't know what to do with his horns because all of these people have been telling you lies, all right. And what Pete Hegseth is saying is basically we're washing our hands of this, and this is going to get sorted out regardless of all you bampots. Now he is quite polite to them, especially the guy on the far right. This character. Now this character is called Mark Rutte. Okay, he's the new secretary of NATO. Okay, now he, as soon as he took over, has been throwing his weight about, shouting that Ukraine is definitely coming to NATO. We must defeat Russia. We must do this. We must do that. Russia is a threat to Europe. It's a threat to democracy. Whatever other things you can possibly think of, he's saying it, right? But at the same time, he'll sit down and say things like, I mean, Russia can't even take half of Ukraine. They're not even very good. But what is it then, Mark Rutte? They're either no very good and can't do anything, or they're a huge threat to NATO. So you can tell where I'm going with this. What's actually happening is they're no a threat to Europe. They're a threat to Ukraine because of what Ukraine became under Biden's administration and Obama, right? Obama started it, said Biden as he was then the vice president. I mean, that's when all the corruption, um, the Biden family got involved in corruption. It goes back a long way, right? But regardless of that, that's history. It's something if you knew about, you could maybe put some things together. But it's too much for this particular video. But just look at the faces. The guy here in the Ukrainian flag now. Look at the state of him. He can't even put a suit on, right? So he comes there with a shirt on, saying, it's a khaki shirt. I go. He's not fighting anybody. He's hiding for the war, right? Probably all his family are too. They'll all be out the country. Now, as I mentioned, I think I've previously mentioned, Zelensky just quite recently said that in a TV interview that, he hasn't really received all this money. In fact, he's lost 100 billion and he doesn't know where it went. Now, as a result of that interview, Trump has just sent the US Treasury, Secretary of the Treasury, to figure out where that 100 billion is. Now, see this dude sitting here, taking his medicine for Pete Hegseth, right? Because he's talking at the minute, and that's a freeze frame you've got there. They don't know what to do with themselves. He is getting his arse kicked. So is he. And definitely this bad boy. He's looking here. Look. He can't believe what's getting said. He's staring into nowhere. This guy, the British guy, right? Look at the state of him. Absolutely no experience for the job. Probably he's a an ex-publican or something like that. Maybe ran a pub or something like that. I don't know. But he's certainly no qualified to be sitting there, right? Starmer sent him there. He's supposed to represent Britain. This is a guy that could say, I want to send the British people into war. All your sons and daughters and all the rest of it. Bampots like that there. Who would fight for him? I know I wouldn't. And I certainly wouldn't fight for this Mark Rutte character. The baseball, I've seen him, I don't know if I said, but I've seen him come out of a taxi the other day with a pair of baseball boots on. Well, we suit. Must have changed into them. They all were going, oh, he's dead cool, isn't he? This is what you're up against with these people, ex-lawyers and all that. Oh, I'm just going to be a politician. Anyway, I want you to hear what this Pete Hegseth has said. There's a lot of sense in it. He does push it a wee bit, but you'll get the general gist that America is no longer wanting to look in this direction. And it would be great if they just pulled out of NATO and that NATO was completely binned, right? So that people could start talking to each other. Instead of guys like Mark Rutte shouting for the hilltops that we must go to war with Russia. I mean, for God's sake, right? Guys, see if I had my way. I mean, I'm not joking. See if I was in power, I would be really, really mad, right? I would take all these people into a school, try them, right? Summarily try them with some witnesses, and then pronounce sentence in the school. They wouldn't get 10 minutes. They would be summarily executed for the things that they've done, right? But I mean, I'm just a dafty with a laptop in my kitchen, But you don't want to give me any of the reins of power, you know what I mean? Because these characters would last 5 minutes. Anyway, it's wishful thinking, isn't it, folks? Anyway, listen. Hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Peace out.
Friends, thank you, Secretary Healy, for your leadership, both in hosting and now leading the UDCG. This is my first Ukraine Defense Contact Group, and I'm honored to join all of you today. And I appreciate the opportunity to share President Trump's approach to the war in Ukraine. We are at, as you said, Mr. Secretary, a critical moment. As the war approaches its 3rd anniversary, our message is clear. The bloodshed must stop, and this war must end. President Trump has been clear with the American people and with many of your leaders that stopping the fighting and reaching an enduring peace is a top priority. He intends to end this war by diplomacy and bringing both Russia and Ukraine to the table. And the U.S. Department of Defense will help achieve this goal. We will only end this devastating war and establish a durable peace by coupling allied strength with a realistic assessment of the battlefield. We want, like you, a sovereign and prosperous Ukraine. But we must start by recognizing that returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is an unrealistic objective. Chasing this illusionary goal will only prolong the war and cause more suffering. A durable peace for Ukraine must include robust security guarantees to ensure that the war will not begin again. This must not be Minsk 3.0. That said, the United States does not believe that NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement. Instead, any security guarantee must be backed by capable European and non-European troops. If these troops are deployed as peacekeepers to Ukraine at any point, they should be deployed as part of a non-NATO mission, and they should not be covered under Article 5. There also must be robust international oversight of the line of contact. To be clear, as part of any security guarantee, there will not be U.S. troops deployed to Ukraine. To further enable effective diplomacy and drive down energy prices that fund the Russian war machine, President Trump is unleashing American energy production and encouraging other nations to do the same. Lower energy prices, coupled with more effective enforcement of energy sanctions, will help bring Russia to the table. Safeguarding European security must be an imperative for European members of NATO. As part of this, Europe must provide the overwhelming share of future lethal and non-lethal aid to Ukraine. Members of this contact group must meet the moment. This means donating more ammunition and equipment, leveraging comparative advantages, expanding your defense industrial base, and importantly, leveling with your citizens about the threat facing Europe. Part of this is speaking frankly with your people about how this threat can only be met by spending more on defense. 2% is not enough. President Trump has called for 5%, and I agree. Increasing your commitment to your own security is a down payment for the future, a down payment, as you said, Mr. Secretary, of peace through strength. We're also here today to directly and unambiguously express that stark strategic realities prevent the United States of America from being primarily focused on the security of Europe. The United States faces consequential threats to our homeland. We must and we are focusing on security of our own borders. We also face a peer competitor in the communist Chinese with the capability and intent to threaten our homeland and core national interests in the Indo-Pacific. The U.S. is prioritizing deterring war with China in the Pacific, recognizing the reality of scarcity and making the resourcing trade-offs to ensure deterrence does not fail. Deterrence cannot fail for all of our sakes. As the United States prioritizes its attention to these threats, European allies must lead from the front. Together, we can establish a division of labor that maximizes our comparative advantages in Europe and Pacific, respectively. In my first weeks as Secretary of Defense, under President Trump's leadership, we've seen promising signs that Europe sees this threat, understands what needs to be done, and is stepping up to the task. For example, Sweden recently announced its largest ever assistance package. We applaud them for committing $1.2 billion in ammunition and other needed material. Poland is spending 5% of GDP on defense already, which is a model for the continent. And 14 other countries are co-leading capability coalitions. These groups are doing great work to coordinate Europe's contributions of legal assistance across 8 key capability areas. These are first steps. More must still be done. We ask each of your countries to step up on fulfilling the commitments that you have made. And we challenge your countries and your citizens to double down and recommit yourselves not only to Ukraine's immediate security needs, but to Europe's long-term defense and deterrence goals. Our transatlantic alliance has endured for decades, and we fully expect that it will be sustained for generations to come. But this won't just happen. It will require our European allies to step into the arena and take ownership of conventional security on the continent. The United States remains committed to the NATO alliance and to the defense partnership with Europe. Full stop. But the United States will no longer tolerate an imbalanced relationship which encourages dependency. Rather, our relationship will prioritize empowering Europe to own responsibility for its own security. Honesty will be our policy going forward, but only in the spirit of solidarity. President Trump looks forward to working together, to continuing this frank discussion amongst friends, and to achieve peace through strength together. Thank you.
How dare you?